Two of the greatest contributors to modern literature are JRR Tolkien and Frank Herbert. Tolkien, renowned for his creation of Middle-earth in The Lord of the Rings, stands as a towering figure in the realm of fantasy literature. Frank Herbert, on the other hand, gained acclaim for his groundbreaking science fiction epic, Dune. Despite their respective achievements, Tolkien held reservations about Herbert's work. This video dives into the reasons behind Tolkien's apparent aversion to Dune, examining literary disparities and personal opinions that might have contributed to Tolkien's perspective. A central piece in this discussion is a letter that Tolkien wrote in 1966 to a man named John Bush regarding him obtaining a copy of Herbert's book. When asked about his opinion, Tolkien gave Bush a cordial but blunt description of what he felt. According to the letter, which Tolkien prefaced by saying he finds it impossible for an author to speak on another who works in a similar subject matter, he then adds, "In fact, I dislike Dune with some intensity, and in that unfortunate case, it is much the best and fairest to another author to keep silent and refuse to comment." While he is nothing but formal in his writing, Tolkien doesn't leave much to the imagination regarding how he feels about the book. Following that letter, Tolkien never elaborated on why he disliked Herbert's book so much, at least not publicly, and as a result, his feelings on the story can only be speculated. But considering Tolkien was so adept at creating living, breathing worlds with real-world themes, it creates curiosity over why he disliked something equally as layered. But here are two reasons as to why, as has been pondered upon by literary academics over the years. 1. Literary disparities, starting with Tolkien's world. Tolkien and Herbert approached storytelling from vastly different literary traditions, resulting in significant disparities between their works. Tolkien's Middle-earth is a meticulously crafted secondary world, grounded in mythological depth, linguistic complexity, and intricate world-building. It draws inspiration from Norse sagas, Old English poetry, and medieval romances, and Tolkien constructed a rich and immersive universe that resonates with historical and cultural depth. The secondary world is entirely fictional and exists solely in the confines of the author's imagination and the narrative of the story. Tolkien used the term subcreation to describe the process of constructing a secondary world. According to Tolkien, authors engage in subcreation when they invent fictional settings, characters, and events that adhere to their own internal logic and consistency. In this sense, the secondary world itself becomes a self-contained reality with its own laws and principles, separate from the primary world but reflective of it in different ways. Middle-earth exemplifies the concept of a secondary world in several ways. Firstly, Tolkien's creation of Middle-earth is characterized by a meticulous attention to detail and consistency. He develops a richly layered world with its own history spanning thousands of years, complete with languages, cultures, mythologies, and geographies. From the sprawling landscapes of the Shire to the towering peaks of the Misty Mountains, Middle-earth is depicted with a level of depth and vividness that lends it a sense of palpable reality. Moreover, Middle-earth functions as a self-contained universe within Tolkien's legendarium, a term used to describe the interconnected body of mythological and historical material that underpins his works. Each story set in Middle-earth contributes to the broader tapestry of Tolkien's mythology, adding new layers of meaning and depth to the world he created. When we cross over to Herbert's world, we see that in contrast, Dune is a science fiction masterpiece set in a distant future where noble houses vie for the control of the desert planet Arrakis. While Dune shares elements of epic scope and political intrigue with Tolkien's work, its narrative and thematic concerns differ fundamentally. Herbert's universe is shaped by ecological concerns, political maneuvering, and philosophical exploration, with a focus on themes of power, religion, and human evolution. Herbert's world is a lot more focused on projecting what our current world's future might be, rather than creating a separate parallel one. Moreover, Tolkien's approach to storytelling emphasizes the concept of sub-creation, wherein authors aspire to emulate the divine act of creation by constructing believable secondary worlds. Every element in Tolkien's narratives serves a purpose within the overarching mythology of Middle-earth, from languages to landscapes. In contrast, Herbert's world building in Dune is more utilitarian, serving the needs of the narrative rather than aspiring to the same level of depth and coherence as Middle-earth. Reason number 2, personal opinions. Beyond literary disparities, the second reason Tolkien reacted like this might have been his different personal opinions and tastes to Herbert. Tolkien, a scholar deeply versed in medieval literature and mythology, may have found Herbert's science fiction epic alien to his own sensibilities. While Tolkien admired innovation and creativity in literature, he also had a deep reverence for tradition and craftsmanship. Dune's departure from the conventions of traditional fantasy literature might have been a point of contention for Tolkien, who valued the timeless themes and archetypical motifs found in classic myth and legend. One very big difference in their personal opinions on storytelling lie in Tolkien's preference for moral clarity and archetypal storytelling, which might have clashed with the ambiguous and morally complex world of Dune. Herbert's narrative blurs the lines between heroism and villainy, challenging conventional notions of morality and ethics. Tolkien's potential distaste for the moral ambiguity of the characters in Dune can be understood through an analysis of his own literary preferences and thematic inclinations. Tolkien's works, notably The Lord of the Rings, often feature characters whose moral alignments are relatively clear-cut, reflecting a worldview rooted in traditional notions of heroism and virtue and evil. In contrast, Dune presents characters whose moral alignments are more ambiguous and subject to interpretation. For example, Paul Atreides, the protagonist of Dune, grapples with questions of destiny, power, and the ethical implications of his actions throughout the narrative. While Paul's intentions are often noble, his pursuit of power and his willingness to sacrifice others for the greater good raise complex ethical dilemmas that defy easy categorization. Similarly, characters like Baron Vladimir Harkonnen and his nephew Feyd-Rautha exhibit traits of villainy, but also possess redeeming qualities and complex motivations. The Baron's Machiavellian machinations and ruthless pursuit of power are tempered by moments of vulnerability and self-doubt, while Feyd-Rautha's ambition and cunning are juxtaposed with glimpses of humanity and vulnerability. Tolkien's aversion to moral ambiguity stemmed from his belief in the coherent moral order of the universe, reflected in his Christian faith and his conception of Middle-earth as a mythical reflection of divine providence. In Tolkien's worldview, evil is portrayed as an external force that corrupts and perverts the natural order rather than as a morally ambiguous trait inherent in individual characters. Characters like Sauron and Saruman embody this externalized evil, serving as archetypal embodiments of malevolence and corruption. Moreover, Tolkien's preference for moral clarity may also be influenced by his background as a scholar of medieval literature and mythology. In medieval literature, characters are often depicted in starkly moralistic terms, with clear delineations between heroes and villains. Tolkien drew inspiration from these traditional narratives, seeking to invoke the timeless resonance of myth and legend into his own works. While Tolkien's own works exhibit shades of moral ambiguity, particularly in characters like Gollum and Boromir, they ultimately affirm the triumph of good over evil in a manner that may not align with the moral ambiguity of Dune. Also, but perhaps to a lesser degree, Tolkien's aversion to technological process and industrialization might have colored his perception of Dune, which features advanced technology and futuristic societies. Tolkien, who lamented the encroachment of industrialization on the natural world, may have viewed Herbert's portrayal of a technologically advanced future with skepticism. While both authors explore themes of power and progress in their respective works, their perspectives on these themes differ significantly, reflecting their divergent literary sensibilities. In conclusion, Tolkien's apparent aversion to Dune can be attributed to a combination of literary disparities and personal opinions. While Tolkien valued tradition, craftsmanship, and archetypal storytelling, in Tolkien's defense, Dune isn't for everyone. The series has a lot to say and ultimately covers 6 books that Herbert wrote, and in those stories, themes ranging from the human condition to political morality are discussed in great detail. Action does exist, but isn't as abundant as the constant plotting between characters, culminating in an eye-opening end. To convey these themes and maintain a large audience is hard, and it's entirely possible that Tolkien merely lost interest. However, without him here to say, it all remains in the realm of speculation. Herbert's science fiction epic represents a departure from the conventions of traditional fantasy literature. Moreover, differences in thematic concerns, narrative style, and worldview may have contributed to Tolkien's reservations towards Dune. However, it's essential to approach Tolkien's criticisms with nuance and recognize the subjective nature of literary taste. Despite his reservations, Tolkien's legacy as a towering figure in fantasy remains unchallenged, and so does Frank Herbert. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you'd like to see more like this, subscribe.